that in focus? Hi there! So, as a lot of you might not already know, but I thought I'd share it today. I am actually registered as partially sighted. So, in the UK, you can be registered as either severely sight impaired, which means you're sort of technically or almost blind, or you can be registered as just sight impaired, which is basically me, which is being partially sighted. For me personally, I've been partially sighted from birth, so I actually don't know any different. And although I've had lots of help growing up, like through school and through university, I try and not let my sight get in my way. I do like to be independent. But alas, unfortunately, that's not always possible. So today I just thought I'd share some ways in which I sort of cope with not being able to see everything all the time. So a big thing for me is sound. I rely on my hearing a lot, particularly if that's recognizing people. I always tend to recognize people via their voices rather than their faces, because I will hear the voice before I can see the person. I also use my hearing as a way of gauging my surroundings. So like when I'm crossing the road, I tend to listen out for if cars are coming towards me or in which direction they're coming from. I do always try and cross at a crossing, and maybe if I'm living life on the edge, I might try and cross not at a crossing, but when I do always try and be safe and cross at a crossing. So I use my hearing to gauge the speed, the direction, to sort of help me gauge what's going on around me, and when it's safe to cross. Now you may not already know it or may not already guessed it, but I have to memorize a lot of things. I use my memory a lot in terms of spatial awareness of things and just remembering where everything is. So when I worked in a shop, obviously all the products were on the shelves, I would actually have to literally remember where all the products were on the shelves and what the products were, because the labels were so small and I didn't want to have to keep looking really closely at it when I was pointing out and talking to customers. So I would literally just have to memorize what they were on the shelves. I mean, luckily all the different ranges were color coded, so I could always tell from a really big distance which product and which range was on which shelf if a customer asked for a specific one. But I would actually have to spend the day trying to memorize where things were, what things were, because I just couldn't read them, and my memory was far more easy to recall than my sight. So when it actually comes to looking at things, I really rely on shapes and colours. They're far more easier to identify, recognise any change or spot from a long distance than it is for me to see the detail. So in the supermarket, when I would go food shopping with my mum, she would tell me to sort of go off and get some eggs or whatever, and the way I'd find her is what colour coat she was wearing, what her hair was like that day. Sometimes when I go and make friends, I will even ask what they're wearing, what colour they're wearing, because it just makes it so much easier to try and find them in a crowd. Public toilets, right? So because I can't see the sign until I get really close to it, sometimes it looks like I'm walking into the men's bathroom, but I'm really not. I'm just walking up closely to look at what the sign is to see if I'm going into the right toilet. When I'm visiting a new place, I actually use a white stick, because obviously I know where I live and I know certain places. It's easy to navigate for me, and so all I have to do is focus on just not bumping into people. When I'm going to new places, it's hard to focus on trying to find where I'm going, and also try not bump into people, and people can be quite unforgiving if you bump into them. But if you have a white stick, even though people do look up at you and think, really, are you really blind? It's just a way of people understanding that actually you probably can't see them, so they will move out the way for you very kindly. So if all else fails, I will actually go and ask for help. I don't have to do it often, thank God, but I do have to do it sometimes because there is simply no other way I would be able to do things. And sometimes I don't cope. I get things wrong and people think I'm being rude or impolite. If I've met someone new, and then the next day I walk past them on the street or at work, and they say hey or they recognise me and wave, and I don't wave back or say hi back, I'm not being rude and I'm not being impolite. It is me just literally not being able to see you fast enough. But everyone is usually really understanding once I tell them that I can't see very well, which is always great. And if anything, we can always make a joke about it afterwards, because I always find it funny. So I hope you found this interesting. There's probably loads more ways that I sort of try and cope on a day-to-day basis with my eyesight, but that's all I can think of right now. Hopefully now you're aware that I can't see. So if we ever pass on the street and we've met before, I will probably ignore you. No, just kidding, I probably just won't see you. If you've liked this video, then give it a big thumbs up and hit subscribe to find out when my next video is up. Thanks guys, bye!